that to me is the key to everything. Just the ability to listen to people and understand where they're coming from.
G'day and welcome to this week's segment of Farm Yarns, where we dive behind the audio to find out who inspires our guests, what motivates them, what they would like to debunk, and also what resources they lean on to get the most out of their agri-business. So let's get down to it, Farm Yarns. Stuart, we had you I'm trying to get rid of in my episodes, but we had you on the episode previously this week to find out what you do for people and culture within farming families, and I think that's an amazing thing, and we'll definitely be having your expertise on again. But for this segment, we'll be having a farm yarn. So welcome to Farms Advice Farm Yarns.
Good to be here. Thanks, Jack.
Beautiful. So let's kick it off to find out, what's your morning routine, Stuart?
Morning routine. So now I'm getting older. I just wake up so early, it's ridiculous. So it's driving me crazy, but I'm starting to run with it. So literally, actually, so I'm usually awake 4:35, and I will head off for a sort of 5 to 10K run most mornings. Living in Perth, living in Duncraig, I do that along the coast. So that's pretty nice. Oh yeah, got a Strava. You can follow me if you want, and you might not be that impressed, but anyway. And I'm pleased to say I set myself a goal of running 100 kilometres a month this year, and I've exceeded that goal. So just feel good about that. And then I'll come home, and I usually just have a bit of quiet space to reflect and collect my thoughts, and do a bit of reading. And my wife and I are now, as of about 2 months ago, are now empty nesters. Our 4 kids have all flown the coop. So
freedom and security.
We are just totally enjoying. I've got to say, we're really enjoying that. Yeah. So that's what the morning routine before work looks like. Yeah.
Hopefully the kids aren't listening to that one. They might be coming back quite soon.
They will not be. Well, the youngest comes in and out, but no, they won't be coming back. 2 of them are married.
Yep. Oh, good stuff. Well, I hate to outdo you, but my record for a month of running leading up to London Marathon was 350 Ks.
No, you're a lot younger than me, so that's good. I think that's great. I have a business partner, Clint, and he'll love this. Clint Borza, if you want to follow him on Strava.
Yeah.
He is marathon ready at all times. And in fact, he just turned 50, and he did 50 Ks for his 50th birthday. So I thought that was pretty impressive. That's kind of me outdoing you now via my business partner.
Yeah, we're always testing on here. Before we get on to the other ones, I got a funny story from my training. I met an older bloke in London, lived in my street. I saw him went running. He said, "Oh, are you training for the marathon too?" He said, "No, just like running." I said, "I was." So he started going for a run and talking about miscommunication on the episode before, but we started just bolting down for a 30K run. He was like a I don't know, head of a hedge fund over in London, and he didn't tell me how fast he ran, and I didn't tell him how fast I ran. So after 10Ks, we're like, after 5Ks, I was like, shit, this bloke runs quick. And he was thinking the same thing, but in an English accent. So we get down to Hyde Park. We're busted. We've run 20Ks. And I lean over and go, fuck, mate, do you actually run this quick every weekend? And he was like, geez, I'm glad you said it, because I thought you ran this quick all the time. So we're off pace, off both of our pace. Quick little story into my running style into London. Flat out or nothing. But Stuart, for yourself in 60 seconds, what's your first memory on farm?
On farm, I remember actually my parents owned an aluminium window business with actually Doug Fitch's parents as well.
Yep.
And another uncle. And I remember driving out to Muckenbooden in the wheat belt here in WA with them, and spending a weekend on a farm out there, and that was my first experience. And then as in my late teens, I had two girlfriends, not at the same time, who were both daughters of farmers. So I spent some time on farms there as well. So they're my first memories.
Beautiful. And for yourself, who's been the most influential person in your life?
Wow, who's been the most influential person in my life? I don't, I'd probably say my father has been the most influential person. He died about nearly 10 years ago, and really he was pretty distant when I was a kid. It was all right, but he wasn't interested in what I was interested in. But as an adult, we were quite close, and I just keep realizing what I learned off him. Things like, Stuart, if someone asks you to do something, just say yes, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Now, that's mostly worked out pretty well, but on occasion, it's really made me go, yeah, totally. But so I'd probably say my father, but don't want it to sound like that was a sort of this. Every relationship has its ups and downs.
Yeah. Certainly. No, that's a good one, and also a common one. Also, from being the son to the father, looking up at the father, and daughter to the mother. And a lot of the time it does cross over, but that's been probably the most prominent one. Very important as well. But for yourself, maybe within the realm you work with, what's a myth you'd like to debunk?
I'd like to debunk the myth that some people are just, they're people. I'm a people person. That's just a load of crap. And it's an excuse, right? So, Stuart, you're just really good with people. It's like, no. And then that's an excuse for I'm not. The other person isn't. No, we learn. Human interaction, like engaging with other people, is something we learn. We might learn it. We might kind of intuit it as children. We might come from a really, an environment where that's really strong in our family, but we learn it. And if we don't learn it there, we can actually learn it in other ways. So I remember when I was first married, and my wife and I were in the US for 6 months. And there's this day she said to me, Stuart, I've got to tell you something. When you speak to people, you are so boring. Would you just lift your game a bit, right? And pretty offensive, to be honest, Jack. And I said, but I listened to what she said, and I thought, well, what's going on for me? And I just felt young, insecure, and out of my depth. So it led me to just being this really low-key person. So I just changed it. I just sort of put that insecurity aside. Well, I didn't put it aside. I went, okay, that's there. But I'm going to liven up the way I am with people. Yeah. And it changed the game. So we learn this stuff. It's not just I'm a people person.
Yeah, can it all be taught, can't it? And
absolutely.
Probably about that development piece we spoke about before. But for yourself, being a Westie, we don't always have Westies on the podcast, but what's your favourite place in Australia?
Karajini National Park.
Where's that?
It's in the Pilbara.
Yeah.
So about 1,600 kilometres northeast of Perth, and it's just a beautiful, gorgeous. It's iron ore country. Beautiful gorges, beautiful for swimming, apart from in the winter when it's freezing cold in the water. It's not as far as the Kimberley. It's remote. It's red earth. It's awesome.
Beautiful. We'll have to drop that down in the bucket list.
Oh, yeah. Got to do it, yeah.
And what's one tool for yourself that you couldn't live without?
One tool I couldn't live without. I think that the tool I could not live without is the ability to listen. Yeah. That to me is the key to everything. Just the ability to listen to people and understand where they're coming from, and also to be able to listen to myself, because sometimes when you listen to yourself, you just hear such incredible rubbish that you're saying, and you can And sometimes you listen, you hear really awesome stuff, so this ability to be self-aware, but to listen to others.
Try recording yourself and having that self-doubt on a podcast each week. Being a young person trying to give expertise, slot in there every now and then. It's not the easiest thing, but yeah, definitely I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
And moving on to this one slotted in recently. There's a few days throughout the year that we sort of focus on looking after ourselves. Are You Okay Day? It's a great day to recognize and create awareness for that, but needs to carry on throughout those days. How do you look after yourself, Stuart? Make sure you're the person that's ready to fight each day with a smile on your face, or maybe without a smile some days, of course. But what's that like? You get up pretty early, you go for a run. Is that you're looking after yourself?
That's the physical side of it. And, I'm pretty good with, I'm actually pretty good on the physical side, nutrition and exercise and that sort of stuff. I pray, and that just centers me,
Yeah.
and gives me like a North Star. There's there's, I guess, something, there's a God that is superior to me, that I can live under that authority, which means I don't have to have all the answers. I don't have to make everything up.
Yeah.
And that provides me with a lot of peace and assurance in life. So, that is a key way I look after myself. I think another way is I maintain close relationships with a few people. I know lots of people, but like our team here at Oasis, there's about to be 6 of us, but at the moment 4 of us get together every Thursday afternoon for 3 hours, and that's not just work related. It's also check-in. How you going? What's been going on for you? And I was able to share a couple of weeks ago. I'd had a really very, very difficult client interaction that had gone on for several months. That had been really difficult for me. I was just able to share that with them and know that they were carrying that. They didn't have any solutions, but they were carrying it with me. That's part of. So maintaining close relationships with a few trusted people is really important to me.
Yeah, that's a good one. I can agree to both of those. But yeah, I was going to pick up on you're sort of helping out all these farming families through conflict or through succession or whatever. But there must be a bit of scarring on the other side of that or whatever, like a bit of a debrief session that needs to go on. So it's good that there is a bit of a debrief there.
I also have a wife who is a clinical mental health counsellor.
Yeah.
So I often tell her not to bother counselling me. I'll go elsewhere, thanks. But just being my wife. But seriously, she is awesome. And so I think having our marriage has been a really rich thing for us, and it's not rich. Not everyone has that experience.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier about my father, you have your ups and downs, but that over 33 years has been pretty rich for us.
Yeah.
And very grateful for it. All of those things together are what helped me take care of myself.
Yeah, beautiful. I think that debrief time is pretty important. In London, had like an hour or 2 hours always, usually before or after work. And here on farm, we're on farm and we're always on farm unless we go to town.
Yeah.
So a bit of a different story there. But for yourself, are you a night owl or an early bird? I think I know the answer.
I used to be a night owl, and then I started getting into my 50s, and I definitely am just like, I don't know what's going on with that, but we're in bed by like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
We're just completely wasted, and but up super early. Yeah. So mornings for us, mornings for me.
Great stuff. And a quote that you may live by.
Cool. I don't know. That's a hard one.
Or a quote
there's one that I really live by, and I try my hardest with, and it's actually love your enemies.
Yeah.
And I figure if in the world we could do that, the world would be quite different. So I just try and do my bit. And trust me, there's people that get under my skin, but I just reorient to how can I, if not love, at least not want to hurt them.
A good point, and a good one to learn by as well. But I talk about farms advice. What can you pass on, Stuart? But what does someone pass on to you that's a good piece of farms advice within your realm and life?
I think a good piece of advice has been to recognise what psychologists, mystics, different traditions name this in different ways, but it's the idea of the two halves of life. That actually the first half of life is geared around often achievement and conquering, and you're usually pretty clear about what life is lived more in certainty. And then you go through this midlife transition where things get kind of turned upside down a bit. And the second half of life it seems to be more about mystery, and you realize there's way more you don't know than you do know, and you kind of become okay with that.
Yeah.
And I think that I've really experienced this difference between the two halves of life, and that's been super helpful, because there was a time I thought I was just going mad. I don't mean like mad, but I didn't know what was going on, and then I came across that, and it just was such a helpful framing. And it's a really helpful framing for me as a father. Like, I have adult children, and just to know that I have some 57-year-old wisdom, they have 20 to 32-year-old wisdom, and actually some of it doesn't overlap. And so just shut up, Stuart, because, they can't hear it, and neither could you when you were their age either. So that's been a really helpful thing. Gee, that was a long answer. Sorry about that.
No. Generally, it's a yes or no, but all good. Do you did you always want to be in agriculture? Is the normal question, but did you always want to work with people? Is the question I've got for you.
Yeah, I started out working in our family business, which was aluminium windows and such, and I realised that people were really my thing. So that's where I headed.
Great stuff, and a good shortening up there as we've got to go. What's your favourite productivity hack?
I actually have got a piece of software on my computer called Freedom, and you can set it up to block off certain websites that distract you during the day.
Yeah.
So, like, news websites are massive. Like, I'll just get bored and I'll be off on a news website, and just chew 20 minutes or half an hour. So all that's blocked off. Can't get to it.
Is it a paid for, or is it a free thing?
It's paid for. It's called freedom.com or something like that.
Might drop it in show notes. Might be helpful to someone out there. But for yourself, to wrap this up, if you weren't doing what you're doing, what would Stuart Wesley be doing?
No, that's that's a sort of a moot point, because if I was retired, which can't afford to be retired, and I don't want to be retired, but if I was retired, I would be helping people, coaching people, working with organisations to help them improve their culture. I just wouldn't be getting paid for it. So it seems like I should just keep doing it. No, I don't actually consider that I work.
Yep.
This is just how I contribute in the world. And that's how I think about it.
Yeah, great little passion piece. And I think everyone's got that, whether they found it or not. At some stage they may or may not. I'm pretty happy I found mine early on. I think it's mine.
Yeah.
And just to wrap it up, what's a book, podcast, or resource that's shaped you? I had to compile all three of those because I was asking farmers, like, what's the latest book you read? And they come a bit stumped. children's book from ages ago. What's a resource you've leaned on or podcast?
There's a podcast I really like called Typology, and it's really a look. It's one of the tools we use called the Enneagram, and they just interview a whole range of people that share their story about what it's like to be them through the lens of this tool we use called the Enneagram. So Typology. It's on.
Okay, I'll have a look at that and I'll share it on Insta or Twitter or whatever, so others can have a look. It's all about sharing that info and improving ourselves. But Stuart, thank you so much for coming on to Farm Yarns and having a good yarn with us. I know you've got to go, but I appreciate your time for both episodes.
Absolute pleasure. It's so great to meet you and to be able to offer something to your listeners.
You can't actually see what I'm wearing for every conversation, but be sure I'm wearing a Farms Advice green, as I like to call it, kindly supplied by Stockman & Co. By the farmers, for the land. Jason and team over there do a stellar job, so check them out at stockmanandco.com. Get some quality work shirts, footy shorts, hats and more for this summer. Make sure you use the discount code that they supplied just for Farms Advice listeners, Farms Advice 10. Make sure you get into it. This Farms Advice episode does not stop here. Come and join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, and even join our Facebook group. Go to farmsadvice.com.au for more on this episode and spread the hashtag FarmsAdvice to your mates. If you can leave a review on Apple or Spotify, that will let other farmers find us too. But until then, see you next Tuesday. In the spirit of reconciliation, the Farms Advice podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people today.